Welcome. We have right now Brian Mills, Director of Services and Infrastructure Planning, and Martin Lay, Director of Contracted Transit Services from Translink.
And this young lady.
Shirley. Hi, Shirley.
Okay.
Hey, over to you, gentlemen.
Great. Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation to come to the council today and to share with you some of the work we've been doing as part of the North Shore Area Transit Plan, share with you some of the recent developments at Translink, and also to address some questions that were posed to us, and we know that you'll have some questions also at the end of the session. So I've prepared a short presentation that outlines those items, and I'll go through that and then have an opportunity for questions at the end if that's okay with the council. I'd like to start with some of the recent highlights of transportation and that Translink has been involved in the North Shore area, of which Bowen Island is a part. And that includes some improvements to transit service on the North Shore. So we've increased the number of routes that are part of our frequent transit network. These are services that serve the busiest corridors in the region, and the North Shore now has a couple of corridors that have that level of service, reflecting the amount of demand in North and West Vancouver. We've increased the C-bus service just starting in April of this year, so we now have more service in the evenings. And we've also reduced the crowding on some of the busiest routes on the North Shore. We're working with the municipalities of the district and the city, planning on some of the busiest exchanges. So Phibbs Exchange, we have a tired location with a need for improvement to the safety and customer amenity there. And Lonsdale Quay, likewise, a facility that needs some upgrades for customer safety and security.
Does everybody know where the Phibbs Exchange is?
Phibbs Exchange is located right at the north end of the Second Narrows Bridge. It's a very important location for transit customers on the North Shore because it's the place where many of the local services join the bus routes that go to downtown Vancouver as well as to other parts of Vancouver and Burnaby. So it's a place where customer exchanges occur, and it's located in the freeway interchange and not the most ideal place for an exchange. District of North Vancouver is developing a plan for the Lower Lynn area, and so we're working with them to identify what can be done about Lonsdale Quay about Phibbs Exchange, as part of that.
So if our students had to go to Cat College, they would go through Phibbs?
Some might go through Phibbs Exchange, that's right. We also operate a service from Park Royal in West Vancouver, and it goes straight to, there are two routes that go from Park Royal to Phibbs Exchange. And in both cases, the customers would ride through Phibbs and not likely have to transfer to get there. But if they wanted to go to other places on the North Shore, like Lynn Valley, or continue to Deep Cove or the Seymour area, then they certainly would be transferring at Phibbs.
A couple questions. The Phibbs Exchange, is it going to be, are they planning to put a building there of some sort so it's a bit better for the customers in the wintertime?
So it's a little bit early now to know all the features, but we have new passenger facility guidelines that certainly speak to that issue about shelter at exchanges.
And the length of time it takes, say, for people who are leaving Horseshoe Bay, if they have to go to Burnaby, and they have to go through, they're going to be not taking the SkyTrain downtown and going over the Second Narrows Bridge. Are the routes going to be improving in terms of the connection from, say, the 257 through to Phibbs?
I'll talk about that in a few minutes. It's
okay.
Actually quite a bit of the presentation today.
Okay.
It's about issues like that.
I didn't mean to get sidetracked. I just didn't know if you knew where Phibbs was.
Right. We also partnered with provincial government, federal and provincial governments, and municipalities on improvements to Marine Drive. Most of these opened last summer with more transit priority on approaches to the Lionsgate Bridge, as well as improvements on Marine Drive itself. So buses aren't caught in the queues. And we're able to give customers more direct service now, as well as more reliable service. And then we also have a program at Translink called Travel Smart. Travel Smart is a program that enables businesses, interest groups, and municipalities to learn more about transportation choices that include public transit, but also a range of other choices for making smart transportation decisions. And 3 of the municipalities on the North Shore have become Travel Smart municipalities. They have partnered with Translink and signed on to a program of this support. And if you want more information about Travel Smart, we can certainly arrange for the Travel Smart folks to come out and speak to a council meeting in the future on what kinds of opportunities there are for innovative thinking about transportation in communities. That's a bit about the North Shore. In the regional context, we also have been continuing to make investments and decisions to improve the transportation system. In 2012, probably the highest profile item that you're aware of is that Translink is able to commit now to the Evergreen Line rapid transit project, Translink's contribution to the provincial project. And that includes improvements elsewhere in the system to handle the large volumes of customers that we're expecting. Translink provides funding to municipalities for roads that are part of the major road network. And in the past few years, we've been providing limited funding to this. In 2012, we increased that to the full funding level that was originally anticipated. And likewise for improvements for cycling through the Bike Capital Program. Currently, as you're probably aware, Translink's funding situation is uncertain, and so these are 2012 commitments, and our ability to commit to those in future years remains to be seen. And then finally, and quite importantly, when we're talking about public transit service, we've had an ongoing program of service optimization as a means of making better use of the transit resources that we have already committed. So the optimization program neither adds nor deletes service from the system, but it does reallocate it. And what we've done is assessed the least productive routes in the system and the most productive routes in the system, ones where there's high crowding, for example. And we've been reallocating resources from services that don't meet our minimum standards to improve the revenue productivity of the system. And in 2010 and 11, we were able to increase the productivity of the system by over 5%, including revenue as well as total ridership, and we increased the productivity of the bus system by 3.1%, which is the first increase in productivity in the system, in the bus system for a number of years, largely representing the fact that we've come to the end of a period of significant investment in new bus service, a lot of growth in the system in that period.
I just want to ask you a question about the Translink Bike Capital Program. Are you guys funding the City of Vancouver bike system?
Translink does in both the major road and the bike capital program is offer a cost share system, so that for capital infrastructure such as roadways, lanes, pathways, we contribute up to half on those. So City of Vancouver, many of the municipalities make application, and then we fund parts of that. You may be referring, though, to the current discussions that are underway about a public bike system in City of Vancouver?
No, seriously, I was talking about a couple of years ago when they closed Hornby and Dunsmuir.
Right. So I can't speak to which specific projects Translink has contributed to, but we do contribute on a cost share basis to a number of.
So we could make an application.
Yeah.
You should contribute.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the North Shore Area Transit Plan. Translink does plan for transit service at a sub-regional level. It's too big to sort of redesign the whole transit service all at once. And so we go through sub-areas. We work with municipalities and stakeholders to identify what their community needs are, and then develop a transit plan that works for those communities. So the North Shore Area Transit Plan began in 2010 for the 5 municipalities of the North Shore, City and District of North Vancouver, West Vancouver, Lions Bay, and of course Bowen Island. We spent some time analyzing the current transportation system, not just public transit, but everything. And then we spent time through 2011 developing a vision aligned with the official community plans of the different municipalities. In 2012, we have taken the vision, worked through a stakeholder consultation process and a technical advisory committee of municipal staff to identify and assess a wide range of requests that people made for transit service improvement, and I'll talk about those in a minute. And have now developed a recommended plan for the future that I'll also describe to you. So here we are in the summer of 2012, and we've completed the 3rd phase of the plan. It creates a vision. You'll notice on here that Bowen Island is represented as an inset on the map. It creates a vision that aligns tightly with the official community plans of each of the communities. And the general vision is that the most significant transit investments should occur where the greatest opportunity is for transit to make a difference in achieving the community plans. The busiest corridors serving the busiest centers. So on the map, you'll notice that there are some dark red lines. Those reflect the highest level of investment of very frequent services and perhaps some transit priority. The green lines represent services that have still very high levels of service, but not necessarily requiring the same level of investment in infrastructure, for example. And then the yellow areas representing areas where there is still a need to provide some service coverage to be able to provide service for basic mobility, and that needs to be interconnected with the rest of the public transit system. So we can't just define the routes in advance. They would be like they are today, but we adapt those as community needs change in the future. And so the vision reflects both the vision looks forward about 30 years, and it reflects the expected development in those communities, and then as a means of partnering with each community to provide transit service that reflects the aspirations for growth and development.
So is that Bowen Island at the top?
So Bowen Island at the top, and what you'll notice on it is that there are a number of corridors that are identified on there where there's the opportunity for service coverage in the future to be able to provide basic mobility in the community. By the way, we worked this through the Technical Advisory Committee with municipal staff, worked through a consultation last year, and also held a sub-regional forum where we brought together elected officials from each of the municipalities in the summer of 2011 to review this and received kind of broad endorsement of that at that time. So with that vision, we then went back out to the community and we asked people, what would you like to see as the services in your community? How would you like the existing service changed in support of this vision? And we evaluated every one of the requests or suggestions with a standard method. We looked at them to ensure that they could be delivered, they made sense operationally, that they supported goals around environment, land use, and so on, that they made sense from a financial point of view so that the transit could support them over the long term, and obviously that they had some sort of transportation benefit. To give you a sense of the scale, this map has a little flag for every one of the significant suggestions we received. We actually got over 2,500 comments through our consultation process, and So in some cases, these flags represent multiple people having asked for the same or similar ideas. But every one of these was evaluated using that method and assessed for their potential to be included in the long-term plan. And I'll just highlight for you the Bowen Island questions, as well as some in West Vancouver. On Bowen Island, we had requests about service to Hood Point, to Cowan Point, including the golf course, as well as Taylor Road, Valhalla. So we took the...
Did you say Good Point?
That's right, yeah.
So people from Hood Point actually asked.
Somebody made a request for improved service or some kind of service, actually, from me. So we evaluated that. We came back out to the communities in a number of consultation events, as much as possible time to coincide with events that each community had. So, in case of Bowen Island, we were here on the long weekend for some events in the community then. And we're very pleased with the turnout. We got many people at most of the events, and as I mentioned earlier, over 2,500 comments overall. There were the consultation was both in person, so at those events, but also online, which we found a very successful way of connecting with people. So we had a web questionnaire, and we also have a web panel, people who volunteered to do surveys with us. And they were over 345 of those completed during the consultation period. So during the consultation, we were able to confirm reasonably strong support for the high priorities. And we also received a number of additional initiatives that we're currently evaluating, and so we'll include them in the final analysis. And other general feedback, people told us things like they prefer to avoid transferring, and they also prefer that we maintain and improve frequencies. So interesting discussion here, because to some extent both transferring and frequencies are conflict with each other, and we manage the system to make best use of our resources and give people the best service possible, always balancing between transferring and service frequency. So on the North Shore Area Plan, we've completed phase 3. We'll be in a position to finalize the report with all the findings, including the latest suggestions by the fall. And then we anticipate a 4th phase, which is monitoring and reporting, when we start to implement. But it's important to talk a little bit about how we implement service, because everything I've described to you at the moment is a plan, but not necessarily funded. And you might say, well, why would you do that? Well, we actually need to do the plan so that we know where to make the investments when we have funding available. And so the plans help us to define how much investment the region needs, as well as to be able to commit to specific initiatives once funding is made available. So the area transit plans on the chart here, shown in the top right, inform the transportation and financial plans in the ways I just described, but they also give us an opportunity to focus on network management. So I mentioned earlier that we have an optimization program where we're constantly evaluating services and making best use of our resources. Sometimes we're able to make the improvements in the plans through more efficient use of our resources. So some items identified in the area transit plan might be implemented through network management without increasing resources to the system, and others will require more resources in the future. Either way, as we develop the annual plans, we develop a specific implementation plan and consult on that. So for 2013, in the fall of 2012, we will consult on the service changes that are proposed for that time period, and likewise in 2014. That's a quick summary of the area transit plan process.